All right, so we are going to start talking about Chapter 5, Section 9, and this is powers of products and powers of quotients. We've also actually touched on this already this year, so it's kind of a review. Part of it is. So if I have xy to the third power, you have this written as an exponent, so the base of this exponent is xy. So the definition of exponents means I'm going to take this base and I'm going to write it how many times? 3 times. So it's xy times xy times xy. And then if I were to simplify that, I have x to the third, y to the third. And you might recall that we have actually done some of that already this year. Zoom out a minute to make sure that you can see it. All right. Then, so if you recall, hopefully you recall that if I have some product to some power, all I do is take each of the factors and I raise it to the power of m. And we did a worksheet on this. So it's ab to the m with parentheses around it means I'm going to take the first factor to the m power, the second factor to the m power. All right, so let's try one. So if I have 3z to the fifth, all raised to the fourth. 3z to the fifth, all raised to the fourth. So I'm going to take 3 to the fourth power, that's going to, and then I'm going to take z to the fifth raised to the fourth. And remember, if you have a power raised to a power, you multiply these exponents, it's going to be z to the 20th. Recall that when you raise a power to a power, you multiply the exponents. This is review. And when you get that, then 3 to the fourth power, that's, you have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, so that's 9, and that's 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. So you have 81 z to the 20th. All right, so hopefully you're remembering how to do that. There's 3 problems. Why don't you go and pause this and try each of them. Okay, so hopefully you paused it long enough and everyone is done. So in this case, 2p raised to the fourth power is going to be 2 to the fourth power, which is 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 is 2 is 16. 16p to the fourth. This one, you're going to raise x to the fifth power and then y to the second raised to the fifth power. Well, x is just x to the fifth power, and then when you have a power raised to a power, you multiply, so it's y to the 10th. And then our last one here is 5x to the third raised to the second. 5 squared is 25, and x to the third raised to the second is 2 times 3 is x to the 6th. All right, so hopefully everyone remembers doing that, and that was just a quick review. Let's go on to example 2. This is where we have some negatives. Sometimes the negative is part of the base, and we know it's part of our base because it's inside the parentheses. Sometimes the negative is not part of the base. It's outside the parentheses. So it is not included when I multiply 3 times 3 times 3. Here I'm going to multiply negative 3 4 times. Here I'm going to multiply positive 3 times itself 4 times. So in this case, I have a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative. So I have 4 negatives. It's going to become positive 81 a to the fourth. In this case, according to order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. When adding and subtracting is always left to right, multiplying and dividing is left to right, and adding and subtracting is left to right. You're going to do the exponents first. So I'm going to figure this out, and this is multiplying it times a negative. So it's going to be 81, a to the fourth, then make it negative. So it's negative 81a to the fourth power. I think I forgot to say a. Negative 81a to the fourth power. Because I'm going to do exponents. This is the exponent part. Then I do apply the negative because that's considered multiplication. All right, why don't you try a couple of these? Here's 3 problems. Why don't you pause this and finish them, and I will show you how, make sure you have them correct. Okay, so this first one, the negative is part of the base because it's included inside the parentheses, so I know I have 4 negatives. 4 negatives, it's an even number of negatives, so it turns it to be a positive 16, and then it's y to the 4th. In this case, I only have 1 negative, and it's applied after, so it's 2 to the 4th power, which is 16, y to the 4th, make it negative. So this was a negative 16y to the 4th. All right? And then this last one, I have negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. I have 3 negatives. So my answer is going to be negative. It's negative 125, and then it's a power to a power rule, so it's 2 times 3, it's a to the 6th, and then b to the 3rd power. Okay, good. Now we're going to talk about raising a quotient to a power. Now raising a quotient to a power is just like raising a product to a power, so it's not very complicated. So raising a quotient to a power, the rule is if I have two numbers being divided, a divided by b, and it's all raised to the m power, because I have it all in parentheses, this whole thing is raised to the m power. I just apply the m to the a, and I apply the exponent to the b. So it would be a to whatever the exponent is over b to whatever the exponent is. So it's very similar to the product rule. So in this case, if I have x over y to the 4th power, it's just simply x, well, this is an expanded form. It means here's the base, here's the base, here's the base 4 times. And so it's x to the 4th, y to the 4th. So remember that this exponent, this is the base, and it means to take this and multiply it times itself, however many times the exponent says. That's the definition of exponents. And so that would just be x to the 4th, y to the 4th. So let's try a couple of these. So if, example 3, if I have x over 4 all raised to the 2nd power, x over 4 all raised to the 2nd power, the answer would be x to the 2nd over 16. We would put that, we know what 4 times 4 is, so we're going to put that in as 16. All right, let's see if you can try a couple of these. They're pretty easy. When you have numbers, we're going to actually give the values. But obviously when you have variables, you can't give the value. But you can get the value of this 2 and this 3 when you raise it to the 3rd power. Go ahead and simplify each one of these. Why don't you pause this and work through them. Okay, hopefully everyone's had enough time to work each of them. 1 to the 3rd power is just 1. Don't forget that 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. And 2 to the 3rd power is 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So it's 1/8. This one has a negative inside. So I'm going to have, I can assign this negative to either the 2 or to the 3. But no matter wherever I put it, I know I'm going to have 4 of them. So it's going to, since I have an even number of negatives, my answer is positive. And 2 to the 4th power is 16, and 3 to the 4th power is 81. So it's positive 16 over 81. All right, now this last one, we have a quotient and a product. So this power's got to go to 3, it's got to go to x squared, and it's got to go to the 3 in the denominator. So once I do that, 2 to the 3rd power is 8, x to the 2nd raised to the 3rd is x to the 6th, and then 3 to the 3rd power is 27. So my answer is 8 x to the 6th over 27. 8 x to the 6th all over 27. All right, and you can get your assignment and start practicing this.